You're sitting alone, once again. The light from your phone is the only thing that still illuminates your face. Outside, the world seems to be asleep. But inside, the insomnia isn't physical. It's existential. Your thumb slides across the screen as if searching for something that will bring you back to yourself. Photos of fit bodies, celebrated achievements, practiced smiles. They look so strong, so in control, while you feel the opposite. You feel like you've lost something, but you don't know what. That the world demands strength from you, but all you feel is exhaustion. You try to look good, of course. You post an inspiring quote here, a calculated smile there. But inside, there's a screaming silence, a question that creeps into the corners of your mind. Why do I feel so weak? It's like there's an invisible weight on your shoulders. And even when nothing is happening, even when everything is calm, you're still tired. And this tiredness isn't just physical. It comes from pressure, from comparison, from the constant feeling of being behind, of not being enough, of not having what it takes to face life as it is. Maybe you've tried to change, go to the gym, new habits, new goals. Maybe you've tried to convince yourself that this is it, but soon the will evaporates, the strength disappears, and you're back to that point, staring at a screen that shows you everything you don't have, while feeling smaller and smaller. The truth is that no one prepared you for this kind of weakness, the kind that hides behind the "it's all good" message, the kind that smiles in meetings and says calm down when everything inside is collapsing. You learn that feeling this is weakness, and so you carry the pain in silence, the shame of not winning, the fear of never being up to it. But what if I told you that this pain has a meaning? That this feeling of weakness, this secret shame, this unbearable comparison with others, could be the beginning of something profound? Nietzsche, yes, the same one who is often quoted incompletely and distortedly, had something powerful to say about this. He wouldn't call you weak with contempt. He would look you in the eye and ask, where does this weakness come from, and why does it bother you so much? Because perhaps what you call weakness is just the absence of a specific type of strength. A strength that does not come from what others show, but from what you have not yet had the courage to face. Within yourself, you're not broken. You're on the edge, and in this video, you will understand why. Do you feel weak? I'm not talking about the kind of weakness that you measure with weights at the gym, or how many miles you can run without stopping. No, the weakness I'm talking about is different, quieter, heavier, the kind that empties you inside. That makes you wake up tired. That turns any simple task into an insurmountable wall. It's the kind of weakness that no one sees, but that consumes you every day. It's when you sit in front of your computer and can't get started. When you try to talk to someone and feel out of place. When you look at your own life and all you feel is a lump in your throat, a pressure in your chest, a certainty that you should be more, but you don't know how. And this has nothing to do with a lack of effort. Because if there's one thing you've been doing, it's making an effort. You've tried everything, haven't you? To be more productive, to be more sociable, to be stronger. But inside you feel like you're carrying a crack, like any challenge is too big, like the world expects something from you that you don't have to give. And when you look around, everything seems to confirm this feeling. People seem so confident, so sure of themselves. You even try to imitate them. But it's like putting on armor that wasn't made for your body. You feel like you're playing a role while inside. Everything remains the same, and that's when shame appears, because this weakness is not easily explained. It's a mix of insecurity, emptiness, and fear of being discovered. Fear that one day someone will realize that you're improvising, that behind this "I'm fine" there is a heart that drags, that doubts, that has thought about giving up. But listen carefully to what I'm going to tell you now. You are not alone. And more than that, this weakness has a name, it has a source, and it may have a purpose. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most misunderstood philosophers in history, wrote not just about strength, but about what it means to feel weak in a world that demands masks, certainties, and muscles, while all you have are questions, hesitations, and a tired soul. Nietzsche wouldn't judge you for being like this. He would provoke you, because for him, this weakness, maybe it's the beginning, maybe it's proof that something inside you still resists, still feels, still thinks. And that, in an anesthetized world, is strength in its raw state. You're not broken. You're too sensitive to keep pretending. And this video isn't about hiding that. It's about understanding, confronting, and, who knows, transforming. There is a logic behind your exhaustion, and Nietzsche may be the mirror you were missing to see it. Because sometimes, just sometimes, the feeling of weakness is just the discomfort of someone who was born to become more, but hasn't found the way yet. But what if this weakness is not your defect, but a sign that something essential has been forgotten? What if, instead of being your fault, this feeling is a symptom of a deeper disconnect? Something the modern world simply doesn't want you to realize? You live in a time when strength is measured by productivity, followers, and performative self-confidence, when vulnerability has become a marketing tool. And in this theater, where everyone seems to be the protagonist of their own success stories, you feel like an extra, but maybe not because you're weak, but because your body, your mind, your soul refuse to follow a script that isn't yours. Nietzsche spoke of the need to become who you are. But how can you do that if you haven't even had time to discover who you are? From an early age, you were taught to compete, to obey, to conform. You were pushed into an idea of success, happiness, and strength, which never quite fit you. And now, as an adult, you feel lost, not because you are weak, but because the strength they expect from you is artificial, and yours is still dormant. This weakness you feel may actually be a muffled cry from something inside you that has not died, but has been ignored for so long that it has become a shadow. Nietzsche would call this the call of the overman, the invitation to go beyond the constraints of the ordinary, domesticated, obedient man, and become the creator of one's own meaning. But before that comes the emptiness, the discomfort, the silent revolt, and that's what you feel today. It's not weakness, it's the collapse of a character you no longer want to play. Your soul knows that you weren't born to be just another cog, and that bothers you, because no one taught you what to do with that discomfort. And here's the twist. Nietzsche doesn't see this as a problem. He sees it as the beginning of true strength, because only those who feel weak, small, out of place, are capable of beginning the journey of real transformation. Those who are comfortable with lies don't change. Those who conform to the mask don't seek the truth. But you are restless, and that is power. So what if, instead of fighting this feeling, you embraced it? What if, for a moment, you accepted that this discomfort could be a sign that it's time to break with the old and start reinventing yourself? Nietzsche said that man is a rope stretched between the animal and the beyond, a rope over the abyss. You are right there in that abyss, and this pain you feel is the swing of the rope. It doesn't mean you're falling, it means you're crossing. This isn't the end of your story, it's the turning point, where everything can start to make sense, if you have the courage to look at your pain with the right eyes. And in this video, that's what you'll do, with Nietzsche as your guide. Nietzsche said that modern human beings are weak, not by nature, but by domestication. This sentence is not a judgment. It is a denunciation, a provocation, an uncomfortable revelation that only a thinker like Friedrich Nietzsche would have the courage to make and repeat, even if it made him hated, misunderstood, isolated. For Nietzsche, the weakness you feel does not come from your body or your mind. It comes from the invisible training you have undergone since you began to exist. Weakness is an inheritance, and not because you inherited a fragile body, but because you were taught from an early age to contain your strength, to suppress your impulses, to fear your own intensity. What's this called? Herd morality. The system that taught you that being good means being docile, obedient, predictable. That feeling angry is ugly. That wanting more is arrogance. That thinking for yourself is dangerous. Nietzsche saw this as a betrayal of human nature itself. He saw a world where the most vital instincts, courage, desire, daring, confrontation, were being castrated, and all in the name of a supposed virtue that deep down was just fear in disguise. Fear of being free, fear of being different, fear of being strong. You have been domesticated. And this emotional weakness you feel today is the echo of that. Of all the times you swallowed your anger to appear civilized, of all the yeses you said when you wanted to scream no, of all the masks you wore to be accepted, loved, validated, Nietzsche looked at modern human beings as one would look at a caged animal. Someone who has forgotten his own roar, who learned to be content with crumbs, with routines, with shallow explanations, and therefore lives in a state of constant apathy. Weakness is not the problem, it's the symptom. What happens when someone moves away from their own will to power? This will, the Wille zur Macht, is the center of Nietzschean philosophy, a drive for life that does not accept stagnation. Who wants to grow, create, assert himself? Who is not content with being part of the flock, but wants to leave his mark on the world, even if it means breaking away from everything? But this desire was stifled. For centuries of religions that condemned the body and exalted guilt, for schools that molded souls to become pieces, by families that taught more obedience than courage, and for a society that rewards conformity and punishes boldness. Nietzsche understood that true strength comes when you rediscover that drive within yourself, when you stop seeking approval and start seeking truth, when you stop following and start creating. And that's why he said, become who you are. This phrase is not a comfortable invitation. It is a call to battle against everything you have been led to believe about yourself. And this is where your philosophical journey begins, with the recognition that your weakness is not you. It is what is left after years of denying yourself. Nietzsche didn't come to console you. He came to wake you up, because even in ruins, there is still strength within you. And maybe it's just waiting for that, for someone to summon it back. Nietzsche believed that within each person there is a raw, creative, wild force, an energy that wants not only to survive, but to expand, to overcome limits, to break down walls. He called this the will to power, not power over others as many think, but power over oneself. The urge to grow, to create, to become who you are, without asking permission. This force exists within you, even now, even in this moment when you feel exhausted, small, with no way out. It is there, silent, wounded, but alive, waiting to be called. But the truth is that most of us have never learned to deal with this force. From an early age, you were taught the opposite: to contain, to fit in, do not disturb. They told you that being good was being predictable, that questioning was disrespectful, that being different was dangerous. And little by little, this desire was silenced, repressed, conditioned. Imagine a lion born in captivity. Since he was little, he has been fed, controlled, domesticated. He never needed to hunt. He never ran free. He never heard the actual sound of his own roar. One day, he looks into the forest beyond the fence and feels a strange call. But he doesn't answer, because you don't know how anymore. Because he was taught that his place is there, still, contained, submissive. That lion is you. Or imagine an eagle with its wings clipped. It was born to fly high, touch the sky, see far away. But someone, afraid of its freedom, clipped its wings, and now it walks in circles on the ground. It looks up at the sky, feels an inexplicable pain, and believes that this pain is a defect, when, in fact, it is longing for something it never experienced. But that is part of who it is. This is what Nietzsche saw in the modern human being, a creature with the soul of an eagle, living like a pigeon in a barn, a soul made to fly, living in fear of falling. And this disconnection hurts a lot, because your deepest nature knows that you were made for more. You feel it. No matter how much you achieve, how much you try to adapt, there is always this emptiness, this restlessness, this desire for something you can't name, but that Nietzsche called overcoming. He believed that every human being has within them the seed of a creator. Someone who can, yes, rise up again, break with repetition, reinvent themselves. But this only happens when you stop obeying external voices and start listening to your own abyss. Because it is there, in that dark place where your pain lives, that your power also lives. Society has taught you to repress this force, disguise it with good manners, with empty goals, with trained smiles. But Nietzsche invites you to do the opposite, diving deep into this impulse, facing the discomfort of being authentic, enduring the loneliness of not belonging. Because only those who dare to leave the herd find their own path. You are not weak. You are asleep. And perhaps this pain you feel is the sound of your spirit struggling inside its cage. The good news? The key is with you. And Nietzsche can show you where it was hidden. What if the weakness you feel is the price of trying to please everyone, of spending years trying to fit into a mold that isn't yours? Think honestly. How many decisions have you made just to not disappoint someone? How many dreams have you put aside because they seemed inappropriate? How many times have you kept quiet when you wanted to talk, smiled when you wanted to cry, given in when you wanted to explode? And in the end, what's left of you? Maybe you see yourself as someone who is balanced, trustworthy, someone who others respect, a good professional, a present friend, a good person. But ask yourself, how much of this is true? And how much of it is an effort to not lose the little love you believe you deserve, because sometimes being good is just another form of betrayal. Nietzsche would say that the domesticated man is the one who has become small to fit into society's mold, who has repressed his truest instincts in order to be accepted, praised, tolerated. And perhaps that is exactly what is happening to you. You have adapted so much that you have ceased to exist. And the result is this weakness. This feeling of being too light inside, of no longer having roots, of always playing a role, but never really living. You wake up, you work, you deliver results. You meet goals, you answer emails, you pay bills. On the surface, everything is working. But deep down, you feel like you're just surviving, keeping the machine running, pretending to be strong, when all you want is a safe place to fall apart. But where are you in all this? Do you still recognize yourself when you are alone? When no one is expecting anything, demanding anything, or demanding anything? Or are you left with just a set of automatic responses, trained behaviors, phrases that you say because you have learned that they are the right ones? This is the question Nietzsche asks you, without mercy. Who are you when you stop pleasing? And the answer might hurt. You may discover that your goodness came from fear, that your gentleness came from a need for acceptance, that your balance came from shame about being intense, imperfect, passionate, and that's okay. Recognizing this is not the end, it is the beginning. Because it's only when you face this manufactured persona that you can begin to break it. It's only when you look in the mirror and see the mask that you can take it off. And underneath is the real you, not the one others wanted. Not the one the world has molded, but the one who, even though hurt, still beats. The one who wants to live unapologetically. Nietzsche believed that each of us carries an inner chaos, and that it is from this chaos that a dancing star is born. But for it to be born, it takes courage. Courage to stop pleasing. Courage to disappoint. Courage to say, this is not what I want. So look at yourself now. You are tired because you have molded yourself too much. You are weak because you have hidden too much, and maybe, just maybe, your real strength is waiting for the moment when you finally decide to be who you are. Even if it costs you the world's approval, you are not weak. You have been trained not to feel your strength. This is the truth that hurts and liberates. The constant feeling of helplessness, emptiness, inadequacy. It wasn't born with you. It was built. Brick by brick. Comment by comment. Experience by experience. You were raised to be kind, yes, but also to be harmless. You were encouraged to be rational, but you lost the connection with instinct. You learned to be functional, but not alive. Nietzsche saw this with brutal clarity. He saw pain as a cry from the imprisoned soul, an alarm that something essential has been silenced. And this pain you feel, this causeless exhaustion, this invisible heaviness, this directionless rage, may be just that. Your will to power trying to get back to the surface. Nietzsche never promised comfort. He offered confrontation. Because, for him, real transformation only comes from tension, discomfort, and crisis. Pain is not a sign of weakness. It is the announcement that something inside you refuses to die in silence. It is the first breath of a forgotten strength. You think you're falling, but maybe you're being born. The will to power, the one Nietzsche talked about so much, is not a mystical gift. It is an instinct, a natural impulse to live intensely, to be the master of one's own narrative, to create, destroy, rebuild. It is within you. It has always been there, but it has been stifled by rules, fears, and judgments. The good news is that she doesn't die. She just falls asleep. And pain is the alarm clock. When you feel like you don't fit in, that you're not right, that there's something wrong, that's the turning point. Not to give up, but to dig. To look at yourself and say, no more being who they expect. No more ignoring my anger, my sadness, my frustration. Because behind them, there's a truer me. A me that wants space, that wants a voice, that wants to exist unapologetically. Nietzsche didn't want you strong in the traditional sense. He wanted you whole, able to look at your own shadow and say, I am that too. Able to transform pain into courage, doubt into creation, chaos into freedom. And do you know what the most beautiful irony of all this is? It's that your pain, the one you hide, the one you curse, can be your salvation. Because it's pushing you out of the anesthesia, out of the comfort zone, away from safe mediocrity. She is reminding you that you are more. You are not weak for feeling. You are strong for still being sensitive in a world that teaches you to harden. You are not lost. You are on the threshold of discovery. And Nietzsche, if he were by your side, now would say, everything profound loves a mask, but there comes a time when you have to take it off, and maybe that moment is now. Now that you've come this far, it's not enough to just understand. You have to act. Nietzsche didn't believe in passive enlightenment. For him, thinking without acting was another form of weakness. And acting doesn't mean shouting, sir, your truths to the world. It means starting with the hardest part, looking inside yourself with brutal honesty. So here's an exercise. Simple, but symbolic, and powerful. Grab a piece of paper. Write by hand. No filters. No erasing. Just write. Write down a decision you have been avoiding for fear of making a mistake. Maybe it's quitting a job that's draining you. Maybe it's taking on an old dream that always seemed too big. Maybe it's ending a relationship that hasn't fed you for a long time. Or just start something that you know you want, but sabotage yourself every time you're about to take the first step. Now, right below that decision, write in big letters, like an intimate manifesto. Error is the price of my freedom. Repeat it out loud. And feel the weight of those words, because it's true. Mistakes are part of life. They are inevitable. And running away from them is running away from yourself. It is remaining attached to an illusion of control that only numbs you. Freedom requires risk. Transformation requires discomfort. And any true step will bring doubts, stumbles, and falls. But that's where the power lies. Nietzsche said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." This chaos is not disorganization, it is intensity. It is the raw life within you that wants to exist authentically, without needing to be perfect. It is the soul demanding space to breathe. You spent your life trying to avoid making mistakes, and look what it brought you: paralysis, exhaustion, emptiness. Now, try doing the opposite. Look at this decision written on paper, hold it in your hands, and accept it. Yes, You can make mistakes. But even so, it is better to make mistakes than to make the right choices as someone else. Action is reconquest, even if small. Even if it's just sending a message you've been avoiding, making a phone call, scheduling a difficult conversation, writing the first few paragraphs of that project you've been putting off for years, going for a walk alone, saying no, saying yes, but doing it, even when you're scared. Movement transforms because it breaks inertia. It breaks the bubble of thoughts and reconnects you with the real world, with your body, with time, with existence itself. And with each small step you will realize, it's not that the force arrived, it's that it was always there. It just needed to be called, provoked, reconnected. This exercise is not magic. It won't solve everything. But it is the symbol of something much bigger, the beginning of your return to yourself. The first act of courage after years of hiding behind excuses. Because the moment you move, the world can no longer hold you in the same way. The decision is, on paper. The fear is still there. But now, something has changed. Now you know. Mistakes don't define you. They set you free. So breathe and make the first move. He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Nietzsche. This isn't just a pretty phrase to frame. It's a cutting reminder. It's a truth that burns because you've already felt what it means, maybe without ever having read it before. When you feel weak, everything seems heavy. Routine weighs, conversations weigh, even breathing weighs. But what really crushes you is not knowing why you're still trying. It's living as if you just exist, without direction, without flame, without truth. But perhaps, this feeling of emptiness is the most sincere invitation of your existence. Nietzsche believed that suffering is inevitable, but without a why, it becomes intolerable. That's what you experience. Suffering with no apparent cause, no clear meaning. And that's exactly why it hurts so much. Because it has no name. It has no map. It seems to have no way out. But you are here. You have come this far. Which is in itself a form of resistance, of desire, of search. And now, you have the chance to turn that switch. Because the why that Nietzsche talks about is not a professional goal, an ideal relationship, or a magic formula for success. It's something deeper. It's what pulses silently inside you when everything around you falls apart. It's that idea that makes you uneasy, the will that never died, the discomfort that insists, the seed that survived the desert. And maybe getting your strength back doesn't mean getting up with more energy or speaking with more confidence. Maybe at first, it's just about listening to that inner voice you've learned to silence, the one that says, "This isn't you," the one that, deep down, still knows the way home. You don't need to have all the answers right now. You don't need to know exactly where to go, but you do need a why. A truth that is yours alone, even if it's small, even if it's shy, even if it hurts, because it is this truth, and only this truth, that will give you the strength to get through the ups and downs of life. The bad days, the doubts, the losses, the long nights when everything seems to fall apart. Nietzsche didn't promise comfort, but he did promise meaning. And that's what you're starting to build here. So, take a deep breath, look inside, and answer, with courage. What part of your strength do you need to regain today? Write in the comments. This is your first power statement, because when you name your pain, it stops dominating you. And when you name your strength, it returns, even if silently, even if trembling, even if fragile. She comes back, and with time, it grows. It asserts itself, it frees itself, and so do you.